Hi, my name's Ingemar Hunnings, and this video is for people from Ghana who want to qualify as solicitors through the SQE route. This is Solicitors of England and Wales. So if you're from Ghana and looking into doing this, whether you're qualified in Ghana or not, then this video is for you. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and take you to this slide, which will hopefully give us the opportunity to work through what is required by the the SRA for you to qualify through the SQE route. So these are the four elements that they require. You need to have a degree or degree equivalent. You need to pass the exams. You need to have a minimum of 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. And then you need to have the usual checks for your identity and your criminal records checks. So that's the basics. What I'm going to do is run through those in a bit more detail and then talk about exemptions that might be available to you. So the first element, the degree or degree equivalent. Notice that you don't have to have a law degree. Indeed, you don't need to have a degree at all. It could be a degree equivalent. So the SRA uses a company, I think it's called ENIC, to check the equivalency of your qualification. If you're using a training provider for the SQE who says that you need to do a converter course, that's not the requirement of the SRA, that's the requirement of the training provider. Okay, so there we go with that. Now, the exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2, this is the SRA, which has taken back responsibility to check your suitability for being licensed to be a solicitor of England and Wales. There are two exams, the SQE1 and the SQE2. The SQE1 is made up of two parts, FLK1 and FLK2. That's functioning legal knowledge. What they do is test your knowledge. Okay. And it's tough. The exams are tough. They're multiple choice. Usually there are four potential answers to each question, more than one of which could be right. It's tough also time-wise as well, so you need to be very disciplined in your timekeeping to get through. So roughly about 55% of the people who take the SQE1 pass it. Okay. Now, the SQE2 tests you on the knowledge, but also the application of your knowledge. So the SQE2 is the SRA having a look at you as if you were newly qualified as a solicitor. Would you be a safe pair of hands? So there are 16 questions, 12 are written and 4 are oral. Now, the written questions for the SQE2 and the whole of the SQE1 will be taken in the Pearson View centres. And so you don't have to travel to the UK to take those exams. You can take them in other centres. Check on the SRA website for what centres are active doing this at the time when you want to take the exams. The 4 oral questions for the SQE2, currently at the time of recording this, which is April 2026, you still have to travel to the UK to sit those oral questions. London, Manchester, Cardiff, I think are the locations for the exams, but that might change by the time you sit them. Okay, so that's the SQE2. Now, of the people who sit the SQE2, a higher percentage pass, roughly about 77%. But remember, that's a self-filtering group because only those people who have passed the SQE1 can apply to sit the SQE2, or if you have been exempted from the SQE1. I'll talk about exemptions later on. The next element, the qualifying work experience. So you need to have a minimum of 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor or a COLP. Now, 2 years full-time equivalent. So the SRA is being quite flexible. So you don't have to work full time. You don't have to, it does beg the question, what is full time? So the SRA has defined that as a minimum of 32 hours a week, can be more. So there we go. That helps you with the calculation of that. Then what is the definition of qualifying work experience? Well, they have defined that as the provision of legal services by reference to the Legal Services Act. They've gone on to say it does not have to be done in a law firm. It does not have to be done in English and Welsh law. It does not have to be done in England and Wales, so it could be done in Ghana. It doesn't even need to be paid. It could be voluntary work. Also, you can reach back in time as far as you want for your QWE, and you can use an external solicitor to do the confirmation. For example, if you don't have an SRA regulated solicitor in your organization. So the QWE has to be confirmed by an SRA regulated solicitor. It can't be a barrister or someone qualified in a different jurisdiction. Now, if you are using an external confirming solicitor, that's a service that we provide and have been providing since even before the SQE came in. We worked closely with the SRA to work out what they wanted. If I bring up on screen here this page from our website, you can see there is the service for confirming your QWE as an external solicitor. We've done this at the time of recording this video for 190 people across the world, more than half of which are outside of the UK, more than half of which are working in-house in companies. If you are having an external solicitor confirm your qualifying work experience, then we have to confirm more when we're on the SRA website doing the confirmation than if you were just working in, let's say, my law firm. We have to confirm that we have reviewed your work, which means seen your work, and got feedback from your supervisor. Now, the supervisor doesn't have to be a solicitor or lawyer even. They just need to have supervised your work. So I do that by way of a Zoom call. The reviewing of the work I do again by a Zoom call with you keeping the work on your screen and sharing it to me. So I never receive the work. I don't want it on my systems for obvious data protection reasons. So reach out to us if you want some help with that. We always, with QWE, where it's appropriate, offer a free, no obligation Zoom to go through and check whether it's appropriate for us to act. So that's the qualifying work experience confirmation. Obviously, if you have an SRA regulated solicitor in your organization, far better that you use them and ask them to do the confirmation. Right. Everyone has to prove their identity. I think the SRA uses Atlantic data for that. We do have a small service for doing that. If you don't have a solicitor available to do that, there we go. So it's on screen. Reach out and we can help with that. Criminal records checks, that's up to you to provide the evidence that they seek with regard to that. Now let's look at exemptions. You can't be exempted from the requirement to have a degree or degree equivalent. Okay, you've got to do that. Exams. In practice, the only way you're going to get an exemption from the SQE1 exam is if you have passed the old LPC exam in the old way to qualify, and you're trading that in to get an exemption from the SQE1. Effectively, you're jumping from the old system, the LPC route, to the SQE route. We're in the transition period at the moment, which still permits you to do that. If that's the case, you will still need to sit the SQE2 exam because the SRI seem to be unwilling to grant you exemption from both exams. So if you get an exemption from the SQE1, you'll have to sit and pass the SQE2. Now you can get an exemption from the SQE2, but only if you are already qualified as a lawyer. Okay, so I'll talk about that in just a moment. I just need to clarify the interaction of some of these exemptions. So it is open for Ghanaian qualified lawyers to apply for an exemption from the SQE2, but if you're doing that, you'll have to sit and pass the SQE1. Qualifying work experience, can you be exempted from that? Well, only if you are already qualified as a lawyer. If you're not qualified as a lawyer, you won't be exempted from this. You need to get your minimum 2 years full-time equivalent qualifying work experience confirmed to the SRA by an SRA regulated solicitor. If you are already qualified as a Ghanaian lawyer, and you, instead of applying for exemption from SQE2, decide to trade in a pass of the old LPC because you have that pass, then the SRA say you'll have to sit the SQE2 exam and you will still need to get your QWE confirmed. If instead, as a Ghanaian qualified lawyer, you sit and pass the SQE1 and you either sit and pass the SQE2 or you apply for an exemption from the SQE2, then you will automatically be exempted from the QWE requirement. So you may need to listen over this again just to clarify the ifs and buts and wherefores and such like for that. Please note that you cannot apply for exemption from the SQE2 if you have sat it and failed it. Your failure proves you need to sit and pass it. You cannot get exemption from proving your identity and the criminal records checks. Let's have a look now how a Ghanaian lawyer could apply for exemption from the SQE2 exam. I'm going to bring on screen part of the SRA website where they set out what a Ghanaian lawyer would need to have and do in order to successfully apply for an exemption from the SQE2 exam. First thing to point out is you do not have an agreed exemption, pre-agreed. You have the ability to apply for an individual SQE2 exemption. So to do this, you will need to provide evidence of your professional qualification. And to be honest, the simplest way is to provide a copy of your admission certificate. Also, you will need to obtain and supply, in addition to the application form and their fee, which I think is £265, a reference letter showing that you have at least 2 years legal work experience post-qualification. And the legal work experience is a different definition than the QWE. Please don't mix them up. So at least 2 years legal work experience post qualification, and it needs at least to be to the level of your qualification as a Ghanaian lawyer, if not been as a Ghanaian lawyer. But you don't have to have done this legal work experience in Ghana. It could be in another jurisdiction. But if you're working post qualification as a paralegal, say in England, that won't be good enough. Who can give the reference? Well, it needs to be someone who has directly supervised your work. If they are a lawyer, then you will need also to submit proof of their qualification, like their admission certificate. If they're not a lawyer, but they're a professional, like let's say an accountant, then you would need to produce a copy of their proof of their admission or qualification, and also in the letter of reference explain how they were suitable for supervising your legal work. Okay. If they're not a lawyer or a professional, then you can still use them for the reference letter. Obviously, there's no admission certificate or professional qualification you could submit, but you still need to explain how they were suitable to supervise your legal work. There are some other technical things that need to be included in the letter of reference. So we do have a service where we help people. Here on our website, you can see we explain things. There's a guidance note and such like, and you can download the form. There we go. From that point there, we do provide a service for a nominal fee of £250 plus VAT if you're based in the UK. Where we will give you a simple template. We'll review your draft letter and your draft application and advise you on what needs to be improved and remind you what needs to be submitted to the SRA. So that service is there to help you. Okay, so we've looked at how you can qualify, what's required, what exemptions are available. So I hope that's of help to you. One further thing I will share, which is you may well be looking at this through YouTube. Just a reminder that we have a YouTube channel, lots of other videos here, different nationalities, different advice and assistance, Q&As and such like. Please do not forget to subscribe and like so that this reaches other people. It's a resource here to help aspiring solicitors. So I do hope that's of help, and if you would like to, please reach out to us. Now, I would say with regard to that, that on our website, you will see that we have a form that you can fill in on every page. Please fill that in or email me. I would rather you did not ring me, because then I have no audit trail. I'm not sure who it is, and most likely you're not going to get through to me because I'll be in a meeting. So please, if you could fill in the form or email me, that would be best. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best and good luck.